Good evening and welcome to the very first edition of Healing Homes. I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, and I am accompanied by a house full of guests, and hopefully a bunch of you out there are here to learn more about this idea. So I'll set the stage for our evening. First off, we're having dinner at my home in Henderson, Nevada. So my dinner guest and I will go through the first introduction of this material. And from that introduction, we hope that you'll be inspired to have your own weekly family dinner and that you will join us both virtually and those of you who are able to will join us live. But let me give you a little overview of how the evening is going to go. First off, we're finishing up the prep of dinner, so we'll have some dinner. We also are going to begin the conversation. So through the conversation, we will each share who we are individually, so there'll be an opportunity to introduce ourselves. And then in addition to that, we will talk about the Healing Homes methodology. I will share with you the source of the materials in terms of how I first came to be aware that this was something that needed to be codified and that it needed to be executed right away. So just so that you know, Healing Homes Leadership Program is about H is for healing, O is for our, M is for minds, E is for emotions, and S is for souls. And so our goal is to heal these areas so that we can take care of the wellness first at home, so that then we are equipped to go out and effectively execute our ancestral assignments. So without any further ado, I'm going to begin to activate the cameras that reflect different angles throughout the dinner table. So let's see how it goes. Hang on. All right, I'm adding one to the stream. I'm adding another one to the stream. And it looks like we're adding location number 3 to the stream. Everybody good?
Everybody good?
Everybody good? All right.
Add some dishes to the table.
Well, let's do it. Okay.
Or should we do it potluck style from the other?
Just put it on the table wherever we have, and we can potluck. Yeah. So we are.
Just put it there. Put it there.
Okay. I've got 5 coming out.
So yeah, everyone just feel free to grab your napkin, grab your glass if you want something in there. Do you want? I'll make a round of. Were you doing water or tea? What are you doing?
Yeah, you want some tea?
Oh, perfect. Great.
And bringing out the dishes, we have kidney beans with chopped tomatoes, some brown rice. We have a couple of raw dishes. We have cauliflower, broccoli, ginger salad. We have cucumber tomato salad. And we have canned yams. So that is what's on the menu for today.
And it looks fabulous.
And hopefully this will be a wonderful compliment to what we are here to do today. This one is candy yam. All right.
Okay. So, Master Key.
Hey, we do the best we can. We got a lot.
We want to acknowledge and thank you for blessing us with the meal.
Well, thank you for blessing us with the opportunity to be a blessing.
Absolutely. And then should we have a moment of grace? Just to
Well, we
expressing
can.
our gratitude for our meal and our time joining in together. And how are we doing with audio?
Audio, I think we're all right on this one over here. I know my audio feed should be pretty good. Let me see, because I've also got an earpiece on here. And I am hearing myself speak, and
Yeah.
I think I'm coming back
And
from
you
that
hear all of us?
microphone over there.
Okay, well at least, let's see if that one goes. All
Uh-huh.
right.
Which mine will be muted, and we're just gonna use the one audio feed for the room. I'm hearing that one, pretty sure. Snap your fingers. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that one, I thought it was the one on the computer.
It could be very low. Can you snap your fingers over there close to that? I'll hear it and be able to monitor that. That's the one right there.
That one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. All right, very good.
Very good. So we're all set?
Yeah.
All right, it looks like we're all good.
Not tea is good.
Okay. All right. So Doc,
Yes. We're gonna
we're waiting
bless.
for you so we can bless.
Thanks to the sun, the sky. Blessing.
That'll be okay. All right, fantastic.
Who's doing the honors? Who's the one closest to upstairs? You
Oh,
do
so it's
that?
nice. Okay, no worries. All right, well, first I'd like to thank the Almighty and the ancestors for the guidance to bring us all here tonight together. I want to thank each of the participants for being willing to join in and to explore along with me in the sandbox as we determine how we can heal others by healing ourselves and sharing the process. So we'd like to thank the mighty hands that prepared the meal that we're going to consume and enjoy this evening. And we'd like to thank all of those of you from wherever you tuned in for joining us tonight, and we hope you'll be here with us again. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
I
So while you guys begin to serve, grab another one of those. So I think it's kind of everyone get some food on their plate, and then I'll
Okay.
set the agenda.
One more speaker needs to turn down. Does anybody know how to turn down the speaker but leave the mic still unmuted?
Please hold it. Thanks. Is the one that needs to be it? Are we fine? We're fine?
No, you put it on the opposite way, that's fine.
Well, you spin it around. Okay. Go ahead. I'll show y'all how we put food on the plate.
Don't touch the
It won't let it turn on.
It should.
Is there a,
What needs to turn on is gone.
is a speaker button?
I got it.
You just hit it?
Okay, good. Is it distracting the thing?
Yeah, I was given feedback, so I just
Yeah.
deleted all of those.
I can hear all of it.
So hopefully there shouldn't be any additional feedback.
Yeah, it should be.
First number is 5.
Right.
Okay, the yams.
Yeah.
Good one, get yams. There you go.
That boy.
Perfect.
That boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow. Steph, you have a fork.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
And
And excuse me, but I love to show off what we eat when we get together to have a feast.
you want some water? You all right?
I don't drink wine.
You don't?
I don't drink wine.
Drink soda?
I'll have wine, and I think there's a bottle that's.
Drink juice?
I drink juice.
That's worse than wine.
Okay, so now that we are here, dig in. I will give you all the opportunity to take a few bites before me, so I'll talk first. So again, for those of you who have joined us this evening, the Healing Homes Leadership Program, HOMES stands for H is healing, O is R, N is minds, E equal emotions, and S equals souls. And so who am I? I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey. And this is really a reflection along my personal journey of developing mindset while perfecting professional qualifications, which included seasons of learning, living, and leading. Living love, joy, and inspiration as a daughter, as a mother, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, an educator, and a corporate executive. I've had the opportunity to wear multiple hats. Overview of this evening. Tonight, each of the guests will have an opportunity to introduce themselves. They'll give a 2 to 3 minute introduction, and they'll sort of share how they find themselves uniquely placed as the first cohort for this methodology that's being codified. But what it is, to me personally, it's an exciting point along my journey. And I've come to recognize that along our journey, we face several forks in the road. And a fork in the road is a clear location where you have only one or the other as an option. It's where you hit a point where and is not an option. It's a either yes or either no. And that's what it is. Maybe will not do. And so how I first came to that fork in the road was on the sudden death of my mother at her 48 years of age. That was a hard fork in the road. And at that fork in the road, I learned that I had to pick one option: to live or to die, because of my grief of that lost relationship. So as many of you know, I chose live. And with living, I found new ways to live. So the first new thing was that the Almighty blessed me with new life. And that was the birth, the gift and birth of my son, who was then born on the 1-year anniversary of my mother's passing, which had I let my grief take over, I may not have been blessed to see that present be delivered. And boy, I never knew what love could feel like until you've held a baby within your womb.
True that.
And then you brought that humanity forward. There's nothing like it. So it also helped me to understand the physical experiences that I had of the loss of my mother, because I would say it wasn't just the emotional connection of the relationship, the space we shared, but it was a physical. I felt like somebody had snatched my insides out, and there was this hollowness, and it hurt a lot, and it seemed like nothing could fill it except that perfect baby in the womb. So anyway, that was part of the the what that helped me really think about the first fork in the road. I have since arrived at a few of those points, but most recently, I have arrived at a new fork in the road. And that is where I accepted that for my personal journey, and it's important because along the way, you're gonna each commit to some personal journeys. The reason that I share mine was some of these took 40 years to accomplish. And the average person can't stay committed to something for a week, 30 days, a year, much less 40 years through peaks and valleys and wondering if you'll ever arrive at the destination. That's mindset. So that was a lot of what was required. But it really came up again recently when my partner and I, in our efforts to launch wellness resorts around the world, discussed the idea behind a social impact initiative where we could train and develop 100,000 farmers and entrepreneurs, starting first in Jamaica and then having a similar intention for every market that we entered and opened up business opportunities. But what happened was somebody offered quickly, there's no way that you can accomplish that. You know Black people can't work together. You know Black people can't do business together. You know Black people don't offer excellence. And I'm like, whoa, 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 stop, cut. No, I don't know any of what you're saying because I've only worked with some of the finest Black talent in the world. I've worked with the best of the best. So who are you talking about? You cannot be talking about my colleagues who are the A players running organizations around the world. They are the power thinkers. Look, I had the blessing of being able to be associated with them from the earliest parts of my formation. So clearly, you must understand that that narrative is not the narrative, and I cannot allow it to be. So it urged me to get some of my commentary into the space. And initially I was worried with, is it perfect? Is it all this? And then it was like, no, get the conversations going. And this is one of those such conversations. And so now that I've given you a little bit about who I am and my why, I would like to pause here and to allow each of my guests to take an opportunity to introduce themselves, to give a 2 to 3 minute introduction of who they are, why they think that they're here, what it is that makes them join this first dinner, and why did they say yes to this Healing Homes ideal? Because at this point, that's part of what it is. We're making it something, but it started off as an ideal. So with that, I will go to my right. I guess I'll go to my left since my right is not ready to go. I think, Doc.
You know that already. You know that already.
Doc, I think.
You haven't fooled him out.
Well,
here's
you
the
know, the
thing.
Mighty Diamonds did say pass the cookie from the left-hand side.
From the left-hand side, so that means go
So
to
since
my
we have no
left-hand
food, we
side.
have no coochie.
Cookie.
We have no coochie or coochie to pass.
So, okay. So I think that.
So is that where we talk about why we're here?
So I think you just introduce yourself first
Oh, and why we're here.
and why you're here. And yeah, let's check that out.
Well, I am Dr. Jacob Aubrey Oliver, or you could say Dr. Aubrey Jacob Oliver. Jacob in parentheses, since it's a baptized terminology, it's a baptized name in the Ethiopian Orthodox Taído group out of Ethiopia. Switching back to, of course, the original Christian church that introduced Christianity to the Europeans who have twisted it since then. And, 2020 was the year that all this vision came to my mind, in just being more spiritual, more mentally, getting my mindset in the right place, getting balance, I would say, mind, body, and soul, holistically. And it's been a journey, and in that journey, which is the same year that I got baptized, I also met Dr. Steph, which was like all these doors to start opening up after that connection to the ancestors and the Almighty. And I give credit because it's one of those things where you're on a journey and you want all the faculties that is going to get you through that journey. And you got volume there. Be careful how you hold that. You don't want to let it jump off. So basically, that journey has taken us around the world, and we're basically getting healing done in a variety of places. And we're very excited that we've taken this to Africa recently and UK, dealing with patients in Europe, the United States. And the healing house, to me, being here, we all need healing. We all experience trauma, we all experience ills and woes, and the key is to acknowledge the damages and make every effort to fix them and getting restoration. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, and through nutrition, through changing of mindset, and just basically connecting with people like-minded, we will be able to get this done.
You can actually mute that microphone since we're getting the sound.
Yeah.
It's
So
muted on every
but it
which
didn't
way,
go
but
all the
muted,
way
but
down.
it's not going off for some reason.
Mhm.
It's muted.
That one
there,
has
it's
gone
muted
off.
in the platform.
You can hit the
and
mute
unmuted.
button, the red mute button.
It is muted.
Okay.
It is muted in the red mute button, and it's muted up there as well.
And
it's
a lot of time when you get feedback is because they cross each other.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
way-
this one's listening to that. That sound needs to be turned completely down.
Is it down all the way?
Yeah, then go all the way down.
Goes all the way down.
So then we may just have to turn that one off because
Something
I
wrong
can't
with
do
that,
anything else with it.
I just disconnect it, but leave the video on. Is it possible?
There's no option to do that.
Go into settings and you'll see where you can turn it off.
And if that's
I
just
did.
being used to monitor,
Mic is muted. Now the cam is off. The mic is off. The cam is off.
Leave the camera on, just go into audio. You sure it's that one then?
audio settings, you should see a speaker.
We do.
There you go.
Echo cancellation.
All right, there's no feedback. We could keep the video on. Anyway, so it's awesome.
Yeah. So I think it'll still pick up.
All right, so basically, that's where we are. We're making every effort to heal and to get everybody in the position of restoration of good health. As Keely says, he's 22 years old.
Revitalize, rejuvenate.
So I'm trying to get back at my best. I'm trying to figure out what year that was. Okay, when I get to it, I'll let you know.
Mhm.
Fabulous. Well, Master Keedy,
What a joy, what a joy, what a joy it is to be in this circle today, to be in the presence of such graceful, respectable, knowledgeable, experienced, and self-loving, community-loving people. My name is Keedy Owadu, AKA, many people know me as the Conscious Rasta. I am author, clinical nutritionist, and I do a few other things as well. The reason I am in this circle is because our visions have brought us together. There is a synchronicity that is occurring for which we are also very grateful, and it is at the center of this gathering, and we'll be spreading out from here to all four corners of the globe. Just this morning, I had the wonderful pleasure of being invited to speak at a Black Power conference, the that took place in Accra, Ghana. And the presentation that I did talked about the future. It was entitled Forged by Fire, Post-COVID African Healthcare and Sovereign Development. And I see this conversation that we're engaging in today as a natural evolution of this pathway that I've been articulating. That is a book that will be coming out in the beginning of September. And we're going to take our programs on the road. We have a lot of travel already being engaged, but a lot of travel yet still ahead as we take the message that we're consolidating this conversation as we take it to all four corners of the globe. Another book that I'm excited about, and I think this group is a perfect vehicle to carry this message forward, discusses the global wellness economic future. And it is my understanding, and I think I'm in agreement with all of us around this table, that the best programs that we can do that can elevate and lift our people, health, wellness, mental health, spiritual health, and our situation in life has to be sustainable. In essence, in a capitalist world, a world dominated by capitalism, it has to produce profits sufficient enough to reinvest in the next level of attainment and achievement. And I see us around this table are capable of pulling that off. So I am excited, undeniably, I am very excited to be in the company of people who share common vision, who everyone brings to the table a background of experience, skills, sets, and resourcefulness. So at this particular point, we say two things. What I bring to the table is my knowledge of nutrition and food. I am a master chef, and I hope everyone's enjoying what we just threw together rather quickly for this evening. Food is nature's most perfect medicine, and medicine ain't never tasted like this before. So what a joy it is to be in this circle. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Absolutely. So next to my sunshine, we've been practicing for this. Okay. What's your name?
My name is Keanu. This is my father, my mother. So the reason I'm here is to learn more about their building of their groups, their accomplishment they want to accomplish, to help, try to learn a little, try to benefit, get a work or a job out of it too. And
personally, what are some of your interests?
Interests?
Like basketball,
Like
just stuff that you're exploring.
My interest, one day I want to be in the NBA, get to a good spot, to live off my benefits I made, and just help how I can help. And yeah.
Excellent.
Help others, yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
In the way I can.
Fabulous. I knew you were ready. See? And last but not least, we've got Mike here, Michael Hudson.
Michael Hudson, CEO of CMT Integration, which is Cloud Managed Service. We do technology primarily focused on small businesses and primarily Black-owned businesses, teaching them how to utilize, expand, and grow their business utilizing technology. I have come to this path because of my health that hadn't been good. And the people sitting at this table have brought me forward to help me get my health together so I could be here to help others.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for that. And so, how did this all come about? So I'll tell you a little bit of my journey. I'm gonna share a couple of the tools, and then you'll get an opportunity to join in with us on a regular basis. So again, The foundation for these healing homes is first used in A Course in Miracles. If any of you have heard of Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love, that was a book she wrote as a result of going through the course. I'll share with you my own journey because the course was significant. And so because I am a person that when I get a book, especially a book that I'm planning for something, I date it. And because I didn't complete it, I had to date it several times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll explain sort of, just so you can see the timeline of how long it took for me to know that this work was going to be completed. So originally I started in July 2003, and I wrote, Journey Towards Inner Peace, Fulfillment, Happiness, and Love. I started again, December 2005. I searched for this book to finally study. I'm on a new journey towards love. January and February of 2009. It's time. Wow, the year took its own turn. Filed for divorce, moved back home to OC, laid off from AGLC, and more. January 1, 2010, I began again. That was it. January 1, 2022, I began to complete the course this year. I completed 95% of the course this year. Powerful. January 1, 2023, I completed the challenge to consume this content. Now I journey through again, chapter 23, and what manifestation means to me. Hallelujah. Let's go. So what happened was when I finally got through the material is broken up in 3 forms. There's a text, there's a workbook for students. The workbook is 1 lesson a day for 365 days. That's why you say the course takes a year. And then there's a manual for teachers. So once I got to the end of the course, I wasn't sure if I was called yet to teach. But it was very interesting when I finished the book and I went to open up the manual for teachers. And needless to say, I thought of all the reasons why I couldn't teach. But here's what manifested and resonated with me. It's that the role of teaching and learning is actually reversed in the thinking of the world. The reversal is characteristic. It seems as if the teacher and the learner are separated. The teacher giving something to the learner rather than to himself. Further, the act of teaching is regarded as a special activity in which one engages only a relatively small portion of one's time. The course, on the other hand, emphasizes that to teach is to learn, so that teacher and learner are the same. It also emphasizes that teaching is a constant process. It goes on every moment of the day and continues into sleeping thoughts as well. To teach is to demonstrate. There are only 2 thought systems, and you demonstrate that you believe one or the other is true all the time. From your demonstration, others learn, and so do you. And it was with that I knew it was time for me to teach the course. And so with that, this year, I also was introduced to a journal, the manuscripting journal by my cousin Candace Hudson. She bought me this gift, and it's a 90-day life design book. And it was so perfect because, again, what I recognized is that most people, as you saw my own journey, which is why I wanted to be completely transparent, it wasn't easy to complete this work. I started originally in 2003, and I didn't finish it until 2022. Oh my goodness, how hard it was, but it wasn't. But I would tell people that every time I would pick up the course and start the lessons, stuff would start happening in my life. And the stuff would be so powerful that I'd have to put the course down. So it would stop because some of the shifts I wasn't quite ready for. So I must warn you, your life will be changed. So what I recommend is that you have the textbook, but I also recommend that you get the audiobook. I listen to the text portion on my audiobook, and that reinforces and gives more context to the lessons that I'm doing daily along my journey. And as I am a year and a half, so I'm a half year into my second work through the course, I can tell you that the information resonates differently. So that's the other thing that I learned, is that I would be doing the course for the rest of my life, because every time through the course would reveal different things. And those things would be the right things that were necessary for that stage of growth and development. All right. And so what I was able to learn are a couple things. I had a couple ahas, guys. I talked about that this information was dictated to me almost like, I don't know if you've heard of Abraham Hicks, but Abraham Hicks gives a message that she's channeling. And that's very much how this methodology was presented to me. It's literally, I sat down and just was taking notes, just making sure that I wrote it all down to the fact that it should be broadcast, it should become content that people can consume, and not only that, who should be approached to possibly support that outcome. But the biggest thing, or one of the things, maybe not the biggest, but one of the things that I experienced was I grew up with this understanding of the connection between fear and your faith. I remember having this conversation with my mother where she used the analogy of, you buy that computer, you bring it home, it has everything that it needs. We were talking about a TV. TV comes in a box, it has everything that it needs to work. But if it doesn't plug into an electrical source, it's not going to work. She used that as an analogy to help me understand being plugged into my faith, being plugged into the source. But she also said that if you allow fear to intervene, it's like somebody running and tripping the cord. Suddenly the TV disconnects, but you just have to go back and reconnect it, and you're reconnected again. Well, I know this may be corny, but I'll tell you, I didn't get that same connection to fear and love until a month ago, 30 days ago. I didn't correlate that fear and love behaved in the same manner. That if you have fear, you do not have love. And that the conversation and the hearing and the focus is a different perspective than it is when it's coming from fear. So that was powerful. And all I would say is that in the journal, because I was doing this and it's a 90-day journal, in here are descriptions about some of the different awareness modalities, as well as vibration and energy, all of the things we talk about, but enough to give you, if you haven't done a deep dive. I mean, I have a house and a garage with probably 10,000 or more books. So I have a lot of content. And when I think about how to inform this, I can I pulled off, I had a stack of 10 books already, but I decided tonight I would just start with these to lay a foundation and to introduce additional content as appropriate, because it's very important to help people succeed with execution and not be further confused. And I know that the base material is already going to require some paradigm shifts. And everybody's not necessary for the paradigm shifts, because it's definitely that situation of information in, information out. So with that, I would like to, that's all that I had in terms of keynotes that would inform maybe our general conversation of how we see implementing this work. Doc, I'm gonna call on you again because you were sharing with me a manual that you're studying. And when I shared with you some of the sections of this book, you immediately showed me the correlation with
Oh,
your information and the history, the underpinning of all of this.
yeah, I mean, part of this journey is to connect with the ancestors. As you know, we are from the kidnapped people, and you know, we tend to lose or get so caught up in ourselves because we had some progress in the last 200 years, but we're still looked upon in certain ways as enslaved people. And in some ways we are, through spirituality, some group of us in the diaspora and in Africa. I just recently going to Africa. I was invited a couple of years ago again after I got baptized and became a Yako by a chief that is a part of the Mujaji dynasty, which can be traced from Kemet all the way down. And I think the reason why they were traveling until they get down to South Africa, in North South Africa, which is close to Zimbabwe, was the fact that they had to be running because they had a lot of knowledge. The griot, the book heads were there. And they're associated with the pharaohs. That's why I wear my pharaoh. But it's so funny. I was wearing this before I even got with the group. And then one of the things in the book is the exact picture of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the book. And I'm like, wow, am I wearing this for... Now I realize why I'm wearing it, because that's my ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my ancestors, the pharaohs. But the way they have given us these stories over the years, they try to make it seem like, the Arab-looking people were the pharaohs. They try to break off the nose of these people and put on straight nose. And, you look at the Olmec heads, and you could see the real Afrocentrism inside of these people. And no matter what they've done, and this is going back 30,000 years. The other day, I was sitting and watching a young man, I forgot his name, Carrie, and he's coming up with these, facts about our history going back 27,000 years. And I mean, I was just blown away because I'm reading this stuff, and at the same time, I'm hearing it. And then the book came today, and I'm like, this is the time of my journey that I need to learn about my ancestors and connect.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember 2015 or 2016, I met a young man that is also Jamaican, and from my cousin saying he's his cousin, so I guess he's a distant cousin of mine. But he said to me, he's a professor of law in a German university, Jamaican guy. So I mean, he had to learn Germany. He grew up in Canada. He went to school in Canada. And, you can see that he accomplished a lot. And he just sits there and he says, it's not enough anymore just to have these degrees and to have these jobs and doing these great things. But we have to get to a level where we're connected back to our deity,
Mm-hmm.
to when we were gods, basically. Good. I mean, of course, the European removed the one O and call it God. But when we were good people, when we were good, we got to get back to that stage, which was when we're deities. And he said that to me, and I was like, I listened to him, and I'm like, that's a cool thought. I've never thought about that I need to get back to being, Next thing I saw him sending me pictures from Egypt, standing next to the pharaohs, Phoenix and stuff. The next thing I heard 2 years later, he's now HRH, His Royal Highness. He went down to Nigeria, and they crowned him, and he's like, but he really went after his vision of becoming a royalty, a noble person. And I never thought about it in the sense, but on my journey, I am getting closer to this nobility and understanding my people, understanding my ancestors. And these lessons of healing is a part of it. I mean, we cannot heal until we realize where we're coming from. As you said, we're standing on the backs of giants.
That's right.
That's what we are. Even though we're enslaved people, even though we were kidnapped, and we acknowledge that, but we have a far way to go, and we're the ones that are going to go back to Africa to save our people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel accomplished. I feel like, what would you say? The word is, I feel honored to be able to see this task now as clearly as it is. And from the other day, Steph and I have been getting calls from Africa. People have a piece of land in Tanzania. They have land over here, an island they want to give us down in Senegal.
Mhm.
Down in South America, down in South Africa, 1,000 acres is given for us to farm. It's like, just come and take it. And it's amazing. You kind of start wondering, wow, this is true. When you really get tapped into your ancestry, tapped into your deity, and you start understanding your spirituality, where you're coming from, doors will start opening up. And then I came home to get Kitty's book, The Africa, the Darkest,
The black.
the blackest soil.
Mhm.
And I was, it just sums it all up for me, because I was wondering why I was in Africa, why these land were there, why these people tell me about medicine from the land that just grows in indigenous areas of Africa. And it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. And Healing House.
Mhm. That's right.
And it's so funny because Doc and I, we talked about that, about the family reconciliation. So
Mhm.
maybe Doc, you want to speak a little bit to that? Because so we had this conversation because we saw the unique thing about the wellness resorts is that I knew they were more than just physical spaces. I'm a real estate
Exactly.
developer, so I can build physical spaces anywhere. But this was more than that. This was about not only building these places, but building them with the purpose and the intended outcome in terms of how people experience addressing mind, body, and soul,
Exactly.
as well as being able to curate and program the spaces by having different thought leaders, as Master Kitty says, he's a nutritionist and master chef. All right, we have different sets of folks that have those abilities to add that type of input, so that we know that we have more than one option on how to nutritionally fulfill ourselves. Don't get into a limitation of, I don't like that. It's more than that. So you don't have to say that. There's a whole bunch out here. We're gonna find something that'll work for you, right?
And that's the other thing we were talking about, the Healing House.
The healing, yes.
Is that
Yeah.
the constellation therapies with our
Yes.
families. And we might have to do them in large scope. We might have to do them like how they do rock and roll concerts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
you,
see
you,
that.
you would see that in
We're
a
gonna have
stadium.
stadiums.
Because when we go to Africa, there's a lot of people to heal.
Yes.
Africa is the youngest continent right now, and it's because a lot of their parents were killed in certain, like the amount of wars and genocides and stuff that took place on that continent over the last 20 years. It's amazing. The media don't talk about it here because they just think that that's part of that's how we should be going. You literally have these white supremacists, who lie to themselves that we're disposable African people, and we don't need to talk about when we're killing off each other, like what's going on in Sudan right now and so forth. So we have a whole continent to heal, and as Kitty says, it's going to be about 1 billion people soon.
We are now 1.74 billion African people on the planet. The mother continent is now surpassed 1.35 billion.
Wow.
So
you see how much work is to be done, because a lot of these people are hurting.
Yes.
A lot of these people are product of trauma.
Yes.
Serious trauma.
And that's the thing, that this was really about just that, because what really came to me, and also I must point out the fact that I'm not surprised, although I was a little bit, but I'm not, that I have a niche, a message, or I have an intention around healing men in particular. And it became very clear because I've been successful in business. I've mostly worked with men. So obviously I know what hanging with that's my natural comfort zone, is being with men. But what I also recognize, because that is my comfort zone, I can see where there are blocks. If you only develop yourself by developing your physical or your technical skills, and you don't invest in developing your mindset, you will not excel. The top performers in the world, irrespective of what their interests are, have mindset development. It is an absolute requirement. You will not go to the next level without doing that work, because hurting people had a different conversation than healed people. So when you are hurting, you're advertising to everyone that you're hurting based upon your behavior. There are things that you do because the sad part is your insecurities will always expose you. So the best way is to address the true root cause. When Doc talks about addressing physical wellness, he doesn't talk about treating your symptoms. He says, let me evaluate and determine why your gut is not healthy. And let me start there at a root cause.
Mhm.
I'm saying the same thing, except for your mindset. But first, we need to detox some things. So there are exercises that allow you to detox, but also you need to do this in a guided way. This is not work that you can necessarily do it all by yourself, but there is some of it that you can do. There's a lot of it that you can begin to do, but you're going to need to have an environment that supports your growth and hopefully supports your continual growth. Because it just what got us to today is not necessarily going to take us to 10 years from today. It's constant evolution. It's constant taking on the new challenge for the next level if we want to continue to ascend.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's about advancement. You can't just settle for every day. You got to get up and add to that vision. Every day you have to get up and add to that building that you're building, that project, because you cannot just let it go and leave it up to chances. It's still a mindset, because your mind gives you what you want. Your thoughts gives you what you want. There's no way around that. Everything that we see, every great structure. I'm looking at the sphere. They're building a sphere here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. I was just reading about it before I came down the stairs, and I'm like, this huge thing they're building in. I thought it was in the Arab country or one of those places. When I heard they said it's Las Vegas, yeah, they're talking about the expense. I'd love to go and see it, because it's one of my visions that I've had since I landed in Jamaica. There got to be a sphere where people can go in and learn. If they can channel into showing from a beginning of a certain time and the history of young people going in there and just traveling through time in a sphere. It's always one of my visions that is one of the best ways to learn. It's through a sphere, the pyramids, and octagon. I always love the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
So I was saying, if I was going to build a theme park for young people, it would have all three of those images, but in large scale for them to go into and learn. And just to see that. So yeah, these things are things that you vision, but you want to see them happen physically. You have to work at that every day. And we were saying earlier, that is the hardest work to do, is to actually use your mindset to create what you desire.
It is, because it's so many contrast energy, and also when you say certain things, there's so many energies fighting against you.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it when I was in my deepest, what I valley, right? That I would get two thoughts. The first thought would say do A. The second thought would almost cancel out do A and try to confuse you on B. And so then I decided to take a chance on just every time A thought came up, doing A. And that's when the advancements started to happen. That's when I started to sort of work my way out of that valley season, whatever the season of that valley was. But at the root cause of all of it is trauma. And all of us have trauma that traces back both as a result of our nature, meaning it's in our DNA, we've inherited from our ancestors and their journeys. And then there's some that's as a result of how we've been nurtured. So the environments that we've occupied, some of the people who have been in charge with our well-being have not always had all of the skills necessary to handle us in a certain way. They did the best they could with what they had at that time. So it's not about going back and bashing or whatever. It's about recognizing where you feel that you may still have hurts and being willing to find a safe space. We are creating those safe type of spaces so that you can heal, Because guess what? What I see for myself is where I address the triggers and heal from them, they go away. They can't harm me anymore. So the next guy trying to say the next thing, it's kind of like, you're using yourself as the own butt of the joke before they can do the butt of the joke. And you took all the steam out of it. It's like, yeah, whatever. I already knew that. So I didn't, yeah, you too, homie. Yeah, I know it too. That was funny, but look at where I am now, right? Look at next. So I guess, that I would just say that hopefully this idea of bringing families together, creating multi-generational conversations is very important to have. My sunshine about to have a birthday, 15. So we have 15 years young in the room.
It's 15?
Almost.
That's 1 week from today. 1 week from today.
So we have our youth reflected. We have
22-year-old reflected.
We have exactly our varying age reference. I'll just say that I'm going to a 40-year high school reunion.
27 reflected.
Right. So
we're gonna keep it at 40. I think I'm at the new 50. That's right.
But yeah,
I'm 68.
And I'm the same age.
wow.
That's why we deal with the music.
Okay.
Yeah, but we relate very, very well. Synchronicity.
Okay.
And there are a lot of people who are listening to this conversation. And from the clinical work that I do with nutrition, I've come to realize the depth to which people have become isolated.
Yes.
And when we're isolated, we're much more vulnerable to manipulation by powerful entities who use that against us. They play it against us. They work our subconscious mind all day and all night. So as there are, I didn't say if, as there are people listening to this conversation and they may be in this period of isolation. I mean, what a joy it is to be sitting together around a dinner table where we know that food nourishes our body, but our conversations and our relationships and our visions shared nourish the spirit, the soul,
Yes.
that higher entity.
Right.
Yes.
So I just want to speak to people who are listening to the conversation. And I want to let you know, this is your family too.
Yes.
We want you to go out of your way to claim us
Yes.
and to claim the peers that you will meet along these healthful wellness journeys, to claim them as your new family. Some of us are isolated from our children, from our siblings. We're isolated from our parents, other relatives or so. And it doesn't seem fair. But it is what it is. And it has gotten out of control because we've been manipulated by these ones who want it all. And they don't even do their best work in isolation. So what we say is, it all begins anew. We are putting something novel, unique, revitalizing, rejuvenating, spirit-based on the table, and everything begins anew. The word of caution is, the longer we remain in isolation, especially if it's by processes of saying, oh, it's too inconvenient for me to go to this meeting, to visit this Zoom. A lot of people, they will register for my Zooms, which are all about let's empower the group, but then they won't show.
Right.
Registering for something that's positive is a great step, but it must be followed through to completion and success. Give yourself the success. So to everyone who's listening to the confidence, you have found your family in a peaceful place.
Yes.
A place of prosperity, a place where we want to hear what you have to say, what you think. We want to listen, because the greatest teachers are always the best listeners.
Absolutely.
And so I say,
Absolutely.
welcome, Aquaba. You have found your family in a peaceful place. We welcome you.
And with your personal family, invite them.
Absolutely.
Invite your personal family. That family that sister, brother, uncle, aunt, everybody that you haven't seen for years.
Yes.
reach out, invite them, bring them back into a peaceful place, and at least reach out and say, you're part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
In order to build a family, because I come from a very large family, because we didn't know, Steph and I didn't know we were cousins
Okay.
until
Right, my grandmother died.
her grandmother died, which was my aunt. I had been knowing her for what? It had to
Knew
be
me for a good 20 years
20
before
years
that.
before I knew she was my cousin.
Mm.
We were in an entrepreneur program. And when I saw her at the funeral, it was like, whoa. That's when we found out we were cousins. And then years later, that's when she found out that in Oakland, she had this huge family that she never knew that even existed.
Mhm.
Because in just my individual family, my siblings, it's 13 of us.
Okay. Got some family roots there.
Exactly.
And with that, with, nieces and nephews, grandnieces and nephews, and great grandnieces, we're now north of 200.
Mm-hmm.
And we have two family events every year. We have our family picnic in August and our Christmas dinner in December.
What a joy.
And we've been going to Lake Elizabeth now, I think 48 years.
Wow.
And we've been having, before that, we was having at my mother's house. And I mean, and you would have, at my mother's house, you'd have anywhere from 300 to 500 people show up in the course of a day.
Mm.
Because everybody knew they were welcome at my mother's house, unless you did something that make my mama say you're not welcome. And you knew that immediately. But I knew I grew up, and all our friends that grew up, they were all welcome at our house. And when I went to the Navy, my friends would still contact my mother to find out, let her know what they were doing and find out what I was doing. So when I came back home, I knew with my friends where they were, and they knew what was going on with me, because my mother's house was always the collective. Everybody knew if any holiday, if you didn't have a place to go, you was welcome at my mother's house.
Mm-hmm. Praise be her eternal name.
And
She
that's
knew
so
how to
true.
keep a family together.
But that's the thing. Think of the
That's what consolation
generations.
is.
That's what we're trying to, because think of it, so many families. I grew up in the same way. My mom, we were a smaller piece on my mom's side, but my grandmother is part of 13 or 14 kids, and she was a twin, so there's a lot. Our family, same thing on both sides, are larger concerns of, there's a bunch of walkers and all these folks, all my cousins. In fact, the one thing that you hope that you don't do, I ended up learning that another cousin was my cousin because we were dating. Thankfully, just casually. It's like, at a funeral, we realized,
Okay.
oh my gosh, funerals are not a good thing to go to.
No, we should ban
It is.
funerals.
Because we can learn who you're related to.
At least you know who you're related to.
Right. At a funeral, I'm like, wait a second, how did that get to you, to you, to you? Whoa, okay,
That's
right,
right.
okay. But that's the idea, because that's what we used to do. When we were kids, our family would be having big family parties. And that's how we all got together. That's why we knew our cousins. And it was a family party for everybody's birthday and every holiday.
That's
And everybody would pitch in. We'd have big potluck or something. 4th of July was my dad's birthday, which happened to be the holiday. So we were going to be at a park picnic, and Dad was hooking up some gumbo. Real gumbo for those of us who can handle it, and a wimpy version for, lightweights. But the gumbo would be on fire. That was what was up, right?
And that was the thing with all the families, but the thing that, to me, it was always important, that always has stuck with me all my life, is the elders would always tell you things, but they wouldn't tell you what they meant, because you say, what does that mean? And they say, you'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think about two things my uncle told me in the 11th grade, and one was saying, a slow nickel will beat a fast dime any day.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, Seth? You'll figure it out. Then the other one was, I'm not in a hurry, I'll slow walk you down.
Mm-hmm.
took me years to figure out what he was talking about, but when I did,
It's like saying the race is not to the swiftest, but it's the one who endured.
and that's the thing I have lived. I'm not in a hurry. I will slow walk you down.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was my father and uncle used to always say, well, I got to get home so I can meet this mule in the morning.
What?
Mule. I was in boot camp and heard a kid say that, and I said, what does that mean? He said, because back there in Mississippi, when you had to get up in the morning before you went to school or anywhere else, you had to get out there behind that plow and that mule and plow that field.
Get the food ready.
And then you went to school.
That's what we'll get back again in the in this whole family healing house. When we get people to some of these sites around the world, they have to get up and the food is going to be right there. They're going to read from the seed to the soul. That's probably going to be the healing, a big part of the healing, mind, body, and soul. And it will help them. And even just getting out there with the gardening and the production of the food and preparation.
And understanding where
it came from. Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about that. Right. Exactly. It is part of the healing.
So the healing, and I remember the first time I did a healing house was at Kitty's house. I remember walking in there and this man had a feast of raw food, And I was like, can this stuff taste good? I'm a health person, yes, I do the healthy stuff. But I like to cook, I like my seasons, my sauce. And I still remember that first meal, and it was very delightful. It was, tasty, as if you were cooking. And it was, to me, I was like, Kitty has the healing house. Every time I come to Las Vegas, I'm like, I call up Steph, we got to go over to Kitty, right? Are we invited?
Yeah, it was always a standing invitation. You came once, it was a standing invitation. Unless your invitation got revoked.
So I think we got a couple of times, right?
Right.
Yeah. I know we got him all to ourselves, so we got to make sure he's on the tour and we get the constellation houses together with Kitty's garden and Chef Kitty's recipes of life.
Yes. I mean, so I guess before we conclude, I'll talk a little bit about that. So guys, we're going to be coming to you live. We're doing a 20-city tour, Naked with Dr. Money. It's going to feature Dr. Oliver. It's going to feature Master Kitty. I'm sure my sunshine is going to have a little bit of input in between school here and there. Master technician and chief information officer will be making sure that he adds his input into the process, but it definitely is going to be a labor of love to take our healing. It's called the Naked with Dr. Money Self-Love Tour. And the first step through self-love is through forgiveness. And so we're going to come around the country and do a live demonstration and invite you into a conversation such as this, as well as provide you with some of the tools, techniques, and tinctures that we are using. Yes, the food.
The healing food.
Healing food, so that you can set up your healing families. And so hopefully this will be an incentive to get started. We hope to see you again next Sunday, same time, 5:30.
Yes.
And before we conclude,
city, though.
Pardon me?
We might be in another city.
We might be in another city. We will be in another city potentially.
We'll have
everybody virtually. Yes. I think I'll do a Zoom link as well, so other people can join in through Zoom. So we'll try that. Yeah, that'll be great to see more people. Yes. Next Sunday. Next Sunday. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be doing it on your birthday.
Yes. And so before we conclude, I would like to give each of you an opportunity to add any closing thoughts.
I'm looking forward to the healing.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
And you? Looking forward to your birthday. Next Sunday.
So look at that. We honored you early.
That's right. That's
you know,
right.
So you can guarantee dinner party already on your birthday.
That's right.
It's like, what else do you have? Right? Oh, and cake.
Yeah,
of course. You know you get cake.
Yes. No, we'll find a healthy cake for you.
Yeah. Get you a healthy,
we get you
delicious
fun cake. Exactly. Fun cake.
So what's when y'all dumping me out the party?
We will figure it out. All right.
Yeah.
So anyone else
My-
not supposed to
My
know?
final thoughts are, we wish everybody peace. We wish you prosperity. We wish you an abundance of love in your life and those surrounding you. We've come a long, long way, but the journey really begins every morning when we greet the sun. Dawn is hovering over this planet. The sun is rising in the east. So look to the east, to the crowning of an African empire,
Yes.
because there is a glory that has been held away from the larger societies around the planet for far too long. And it's time for that glory to once again bring us all the light so we can fix the major and the minor problems that stand in front of us all. So it's a good time. It's good to have you in the neighborhood.
Michael Cosmetology. Exactly. So we're ready to roll. We're rolling. So let's just do this and stay focused, because it's easy. And what I've noticed over the last 30 years, I've been working with the Nigerians and so forth from college days, and to see, from the 80s to now, and what have transcribed and how many lives have lost and how many people have got caught up in what we call the European virus. Because they're rather that privilege to say they are making that money. They went to their schools and they're doing well and they're driving the European cars and they look, and that took a lot of them who were revolutionary in college days that I remember away from the task. So coming full circle, 30, 40 years later, we're going to accomplish this task. And as you said, Africa rising.
Africa rising. We got next.
Yes.
Excellent.
So I'm looking forward to that journey.
Well, with that, guys, again, I'd like to thank you for joining us for our first gathering of the Healing House. It will not be our last. So thank you, and we see you again.
Thank you.
5:30 p.m. Pacific time on your Sunday. Join us. Take care. Mwah. Smooches, we love you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, my belly is full.
Woo! All right. Thank you, guys. We love you, and we'll see you again next week.